context, I am currently a college freshman and on a full ride to my university. Every semester, a check is sent to my house to cover my housing costs, which amount to about $9,000. Recently, my unemployed father was evicted from our previous address because he was not paying rent, so my family started living in a hotel. I began to wonder how they were affording the hotel, considering it was $150 a night, but I will get to that soon. My college had given me a deadline to pay off the housing costs, which was on the 1st of November, and I had been begging my father for the past 2 months to send me the funds so I could continue my schooling. Every time I would ask him, he would lie to me, claiming it was attached to some funds that were difficult to access, but not to worry because he was working on it. I did not know he was lying at the time, because I have absolutely zero financial literacy and my father never went into depth about it, so I brushed it off and hoped everything would work out for the best. For the past 2 months, I was so stressed out, unable to eat, sleep, or socialize properly, because if my dad did not send me the money, I would not have a place to live and most likely need to drop out. Then when the aforementioned deadline came around, the housing costs were still not paid for. I called my dad and asked him why he still had not sent me the money that the school provided. He decided that this was the perfect time to finally reveal that he used the check to cover the hotel they were living in. I was furious, and I started interrogating him fiercely. He blamed the family for being responsible for using my college money, not himself, and also blamed me. This man was even lending me allowance money for 2 months, when I had nothing else, and telling me that it was from my relatives when it was actually from my $9K housing check. I asked him why he would do this, and he said that he did not want to stress me out. I started crying and told him I had worked way too hard in high school for me to drop out. I said that he owed me an apology 3 times over the phone, but he refused because he thought he had done nothing wrong since he was providing for the family. I asked him again, and he said sorry in a mocking voice. I told him that he was full of crap, and he started saying that because I am making him feel guilty when all he did was take care of the family, he feels deeply saddened and will end himself, and it will all be on me. This is not the first time he has done that. I told him to do it, and I hung up. My mom called me, and I informed her about the situation. She told me to apologize to my dad, but I told her, as psychotic as I may sound, I have no remorse, especially after what he did. My mom threatened to disown me, but I somehow mended things with them for 3 weeks. It is currently Thanksgiving break, and my father still hasn't paid off my check. He said that he would get money on Saturday to pay it off. My mom told me again to apologize to him after he paid my housing costs, and I said I would to avoid conflict. But I think I'm way too stubborn to apologize, especially because I genuinely think I have nothing to be sorry for. My dad never fully apologized and made a joke out of me to the family. Edit. There's a huge part that I left out regarding this situation. My mother is an illegal immigrant, and if my dad goes to jail or gets charged, then she would have to go back to her country. I did threaten my dad with this, but my mother said that she would flat out disown me if I did. I also have little siblings, so I would not like for them to have to take the fall for this. I think I will contact the school and ask them to put the mail somewhere safer, probably my dorm address. Update 1. Hi everyone, I just wanted to give an update on some of the things that have happened over the last 3 months. First and foremost, immediately after my last post, I managed to get a separate debit card without my parents knowing. I don't have a job now, but I'm looking to get one later on in the semester. I didn't go to the financial aid center because my dad somehow managed to pay me back. I'm going under the assumption that it's through my grandmother's social security checks. Last December, after weeks of calling my father to reimburse me for my scholarship money and pay me back, he finally sent me a check for $9K. The check arrived in my dorm mail around midnight, but I was asleep by then, and my dad was spam calling my phone to tell me it was in the mail. I didn't call him back until 1 in the afternoon because I had an exam that day. He started cursing at me, telling me how he couldn't sleep all night because I didn't answer my phone. I talked back and said, "The stress you put me through for 3 months by lying about my scholarship check is nothing compared to the stress you went through for a day." He started insulting me in every way possible, telling me that I was spoiled. I swore back, saying, "Are you bleeping serious?" and he hung up. Moments later, my dad made my mom call me because he didn't want to argue with me. She screamed at me, saying that I should always have respect for him as a father and that I should apologize for swearing. I said that yes, I did swear at him, but he did too, calling me a bunch of slurs and whatnot. She also accused me of purposely ignoring them when I made it clear several times that I was asleep and had an exam at 9 in the morning, hence not calling them at midnight. I told her that we shouldn't even have this talk because he was clearly in the wrong in this entire situation and every other kid would have gone to the financial aid center, and my dad would have gotten in trouble. My mom misunderstood me for saying that I was going to report my dad. She had a mental breakdown and hung up. Then almost immediately after, my dad called and told me to go ahead and report him because I would be going to jail instead of him since he sent me some of the money from the check, which is BS. I called him out on his BS, and he said that he was permanently severing ties so I could learn my lesson. Then he hung up. I didn't call them for a week until I realized that I didn't have a place to stay for winter break, as my dorm closed. I swallowed my pride and called them back to apologize. They said they'll accept me back into the family. This honestly still keeps me up at night, but I literally didn't have a choice but to stay with them over break. Over break, They've noticed that I'm way more cold and distant towards them, and they still wonder why. Luckily, because I changed the mailing address, I got the 9K check from my university to pay for this upcoming semester's housing fees. The best thing that came out of this is that I ended up reconnecting with my estranged sister, 25F. Long story short, my father financially abused my sister for years, maxing out her credit cards and leaving her 20K in debt. They cut all ties a year ago after my sister started dating a guy they didn't approve of. When I was on good terms with them, they painted her as the bad guy, telling me that she betrayed them by choosing her boyfriend over the entire family. I also didn't know that my dad financially abused her. It turns out she was in the same situation I was in and ended up dropping out because my dad didn't let her take out a student loan. I talked to my sister, and she said that she was honestly glad that she severed ties with them because she's finally financially independent, even if she's not financially stable. We're closer than ever now, and I probably consider her as a shoulder to lean on. Mentally, I'm really not doing well. I'm generally stoic, but this is taking a hard emotional toll on me because my family was my world. Before college, I always knew my father was insane, but my mother was my rock. I told her everything, I helped her through her marital problems, she told me everything, and the fact that she chose my abusive, unemployed father, the man that she always talked about wanting to divorce, over her daughter is heartbreaking. She still expects me to be her armchair therapist, and she told me she wants me to act like how I did before. I told her over break that no matter what she does, she will never mend back the trust I had for her then. And my father, despite his flaws, I never expected him to use my check. He put such a huge emphasis on education and told me he wanted me to have the life he never had. Knowing he would sacrifice my education just so he could live in a fancy $150 hotel is very disheartening. Recently, I've been very isolated, though I still talk to a few people, my grades are falling, and I haven't been eating or sleeping well. Maybe this situation should be a wake-up call for me, but I've come to the point where I'm completely apathetic about everything. I refrain from doing illegal substances, thankfully, but even so, I feel like my life is on autopilot.